Hey guys, welcome back to another Snapshot video. Today the Allays have been added to the game and the ancient cities are back in the snapshots. They're a little bit different from the ones from the experimental snapshot, so let's check those out first. I guess we're just gonna have a quick flight around and I'm gonna point out some things I think that are new. I think this gate-like structure here is new and I'm pretty sure this one as well, you have the candles. The loot also has been changed, we're gonna check that out later. But I wanted to show you an icebox room. That's also a new one. So there is a pressure plate that doesn't really do anything because it seems like the trapdoor here is powered anyway already. How does this even work? Why is it powered? There we go. There's a lever. Alright. And this room has some special loot. It has some snowballs, packed ice, and also some golden carrots. This ancient city is also quite an interesting one because it intersects with the mine shaft here. So it's quite interesting. All the walkways there, just on top of each other, no stone in between. But that's probably not that intended. Just interesting. I'm also quite sure I haven't seen this one yet. So there's a little pool, and this might be a hot tub. But I think the highlight are the new city centers. So the city center is the structure here with the reinforced deep slate structure. A lot of people think it's going to be a portal, but we don't know yet. It doesn't have a functionality yet. By the way, the reinforced deep slate can no longer be moved with pistons. Apart from that, it still works the same. You can still mine it, but even if you have silkage, it wouldn't drop an item. Alright, why is it the highlight though? This has already been added before. Well, there's actually a secret redstone tutorial area under the city center. Here is actually the entrance. This is part of a 2x2 door. There we go. There are actually 3 different types of city centers. They all have different redstoning lections. Okay, so let's take a look inside. So maybe let's take a look at the door first, because this one also is a bit weird, especially if you're playing Java version. Can turn it off here. So it's supposed to be a 3x2 door where the middle blocks are not getting opened. Definitely haven't seen one of those yet, but quite interesting. And also those repeaters are kind of redundant if you're playing Java version, so I'm quite sure this was just added. It's the same as in Bedrock Edition, because you would power the pistons here with QC already. So yeah, I think those repeaters were just added for Bedrock Edition. Anyway, let's take also a look inside, because there's a whole activation mechanism. So we got a skulk sensor here. Let's see, so it's waterlogged, so it doesn't make any noise. Then we got a comparator output. Yeah, definitely need to activate this with a certain signal strength. So here in the furnace we got a wooden shovel, the fuel slot, and 24 deep slate in the output. So we got a stack in 24. This should give out a signal strength of 7. We can easily check that on the side. So yes, the comparators are in the subtract mode. So we need at least signal strength of 8 or higher. So this redstone line would get activated. With a whole bunch of actions that would activate this. Give out a signal strength that is higher than 8. For example, pressing a button. But this wouldn't really do anything unless it would teach you about zerotic off pulses. I'm pretty sure this would only trigger something like a dropper, because the pulse is so short. How can we visualize that? Yeah. So the redstone dust line there is actually just off. Not visually, but just for the zerotic. Okay, but I think that's not the lesson here. I think we need to actually find a signal strength where only the torch turns off, but the repeater isn't turned on. And that would be the case. I actually had to look this up with the skulk sensor. So eating gives out signal strength of 8, which would be the right one, but also projectile land, anti-damage, and mob interact. So I'm pretty sure if you would eat in front of this, might not be in range, should open the door. No? Maybe we need to be closer. And there's also wool around. Maybe the signal just got blocked. Let's try it maybe from over here. Not that good. This one is better. Okay. So if you eat somewhere around here and you happen to be just in the right place, this would then open the door. Also teaches you about a pulse extender. Let's trigger it again. You can see there's a little comparator pulse extender. Slowly turns off the redstone lamp line here. But it's not... Is it actually? Yeah, it's also related to the door. Okay. Okay, nice little redstone lesson here. Let's take a look at the next one. I think the lesson here is that the target block is not only a literal target, but also a redstone component that can power adjacent things like the piston here. Okay, simple enough. Then yeah, the next one, I guess, should teach you about lectern. You can put a book in there. Alright. There we got one more. I think this shows... Yeah, this teaches you that certain blocks can be powered and other blocks like glass can't conduct redstone. Let's take a look inside the second city center. So the 3 small tutorials here, all the same. The big one here is slightly different. Not entirely sure what the lecture here is. So we got a skulk sensor that is well encased in wool. So it's properly insulated from the player doing anything. So you wouldn't activate this, but there's still a glass pane so you can see inside. I think the whole lesson here is that the skulk sensor doesn't work if it's encased by wool. So if you would replace this stuff, block placing would then immediately trigger it, of course. Yeah, if you place everything, then I guess also walking and stuff like that would activate it. I guess that's the lesson here. Apart from that, got another pulse extender here. Also, it came with this lever. Not entirely sure. I guess should show you that it works. Turn it off. I guess that's pretty much it. Okay, let's see what's inside of the third city center. Again, tutorials are the same, the small ones. And here we got a little bit of a highlight. Because when I showed this to people, they couldn't tell me within 5 seconds what this actually does. Can you? Anyway, let's take a look at it. Alright, first we got, again, a skulk sensor that is well insulated. So I guess, same lesson here. You wouldn't just trigger it by accident. But let's place a couple blocks here. We would trigger this. Okay, so this would first create a short pulse. This redstone dust here is not really necessary. Would also work without it. So we get a short pulse, and yeah, there's a bit convoluted way of making a T flip-flop. So basically switches in between door being closed and door being opened until you activate it again. So we can also use a button here instead to trigger this. So not entirely sure who made this, but is that really the best way to teach new players how to do redstoning, by using a really complicated way of making a T flip-flop? To be honest, I've probably never used this circuit before. It's so huge and it basically does the same as a sticky piston. Yeah, quite interesting. I guess the whole room could also look like this instead. And I think this would actually be a better lesson, because it would actually... Oh, water is bad. It also teaches you that water is bad. Okay, no, but the point I wanted to make is that it teaches you about sticky piston block dropping. Okay, but yeah. As you can see here, you can also use this. Maybe the reason they don't use something simple like that is because sticky piston block dropping is not a thing in Bedrock Edition. I guess at least for Java, I think this would be a bit better. But as I said, I guess it's this way, so it would also work in Bedrock Edition. But technically, why would I even need a second repeater? I can just place a dust maybe in there. And I'm pretty sure this would then also work in Bedrock Edition. Unless Bedrock Edition is completely different. Alright, to sum it up a little bit, I think it's pretty cool that they added those little redstone tutorials, but this one in particular I can't really agree with because it's a bit too complicated. You might have to look at it first, actually try it out to see what it does, to understand it. I don't think it's actually great for new players. If anything it does, it scares them away from redstoning because it's just hard to follow. So maybe instead of this lesson in 2011 redstoning, maybe it would be nicer if simpler concepts would be shown here. Maybe even a Java Edition, a room where QC is demonstrated or stuff like that. Maybe one more thing that is actually noteworthy about those city centers. At one of them, let's actually see which version this is. So City Center 2, there is a chest, and this one always contains exactly one golden carrot in the middle slot of the chest. This probably has a reason. So it's probably some part of the lore. Maybe this would actually lead us to the carrot dimension. We'll have to see what it does. Let's also take a quick look at the new type of loot you can get in the ancient cities. So you can get the Swift Sneak books there. And I'm just gonna quickly look through some of the chests so you can see the other type of loot. You can find there's some cave items like the glowberries. And you get amethyst shards, records. I think I also saw the new Lena Rain record already. But 13 is also quite common apparently. Let's quickly take a look through it. There was a diamond horse armor, that might be quite interesting. Cat disc. Another 13, skulk sensor, coal, books, candles, etc. Oh, also hose. Oh, that's actually a pretty good one. Unbreaking, efficiency 5, vending. I'll take it. Yeah, so some good stuff in there. Okay, next let's take a look at the Allays. They're supposed to generate at either Pillager Outpost or the Woodland Mansion. So I've been at around 8 or 9 of those Pillager Outposts already. Never saw any of them. I think the idea is they're maybe inside of the little cages where usually the iron golems are, but I'm not entirely sure. Additionally, in this snapshot I have the problem if I teleport somewhere, there's a really good chance that the game would crash. And then I basically have to make a new world and try again. So I maybe try to teleport to one more Woodland Mansion and see if I'm lucky there. So I got to the Woodland Mansion. Again, it loaded one chunk, but it seems like that's about it, and I gotta restart the game. I guess if teleporting doesn't work, we can just fly there. It's only 5,000 blocks away, but also the chunk loading seems to have made a step back again. Really, really annoying right now. So finally made it to the mansion. Apparently only one of the roughly 80 rooms has Allays in it. Actually didn't know about this room, a spider spawner room. Yeah, I don't spend a lot of time at the mansions. Let's maybe have a quick look around if we can find the Allay room. It's also probably not guaranteed that it actually generates. So there are definitely no Allays in this mansion. I also try to teleport myself to one. Right, so it seems like those Allays are gonna be really, really rare. So I also tried to look it up. According to the wiki, you can find the Allays inside of those jail cells within the Woodland Mansion. I actually spawned those in with the spawn egg, so you could see how it would look like if you actually find some. I think them being that rare is actually a huge problem, because if you have to travel 10,000s of blocks to either Woodland Mansion or thousands of blocks to Pillager Outpost to have a chance to maybe find one, that's gonna be quite rough. It's probably gonna be the same as the Shulker box problem if you play on a server. Yeah, you can forget finding an Allay within the next 20,000 blocks. So I think they should either be able to spawn in certain structures instead of just generating, or we should be able to breed them somehow, which at the moment is not the case. So if you would actually find one of those guys, you can also use a lead to guide them around, but you can also put them in a boat or minecart and transport them this way. Just in case you're really curious, the Allay doesn't drop any items or XP. Alright, but they're way too precious anyway. Okay, so let's see what you can do with them. You can give them an item just by right-clicking on them, and then they would start collecting the same type of item, but not other items, just, in this case, the redstone blocks, and then bring it to the player. Okay, so you can maybe use it while you're going sand digging in a desert, bring a couple of Allays with you, if possible, maybe with leads, whatever, and they would bring you sand you wouldn't pick up yourself, or while mining, etc. So you can definitely use those guys somehow. You can also take the item away again if you right-click on them just with an empty hand. Next, I want to see if the item pickup is MBT sensitive. So I gave this guy a plain netherite sword. I'm just gonna throw out the enchanted netherite sword, and yeah, it would also get picked up and be brought to the play, hopefully. There we go. It's also really good if you move away, the allay actually also follows you. You can see here, this guy is trying to fly after me. So he wouldn't just fly off and it would get lost. But of course, this could be quite dangerous. Once the allay would be in an unloaded chunk, it's probably also over. They're not that quick. So in case you don't need your allay anymore, so you're back from your sand digging adventure or something else, probably best to tie them down. Okay, now let's continue with the really interesting part, automation. So instead of dropping the items off at the player, they can also drop off items at a note block. So if you activate a note block, or right click it would also work, the allay would bring the items towards that instead. So let's actually try that out. I'm gonna throw down a bit of sugarcane. And yeah, he's gonna drop the items off at the note block. Okay, then in order to automatically collect those, it's probably best if we place a hopper minecart below. Okay, so let's do it like that. And there's one problem. After 30 seconds, the allay would no longer be assigned to that specific note block. So I'm pretty sure if you would want to use the allay maybe for farming to pick up items, for example, a sugarcane farm, you would need to constantly trigger that note block. So yeah, we can maybe do that. It's gonna be a bit annoying, I guess. Place down an observer clock and do it like that. And where's our allay? Might also be a problem. He would always try to fly off. Let's see if it would actually drop off the items at the note block now. Okay, one more. And there we go. Perfect item collection. Okay, already built a little sugarcane farm. Let's see if this works. Okay, so in order to test this, I set the random tick speed 100 times higher so the sugarcane grows a little bit faster. And the note block is getting quite annoying. There's actually another change to this snapshot. It's no longer enough to put any item on top of a note block to make it silent. You need to put carpet or wool on top of it now. Which is also a problem with our item collection, to be honest. It worked fine without it. I guess this is actually a bigger issue. You can always set the note block to silent. A lot of note blocks are actually used in all kinds of redstone contraptions because it's kind of a unique block. Previously, usually when I used the note block, in most cases it was some type of block above it anyway. Didn't make any sound, but in some cases it was so annoying that I just put some buttons on top of something else to make it quiet. And now we need to put carpet or wool on top. I definitely see some issues with that. Because this would get annoying with a lot of contraptions. So for example, if you have just like a normal dropper elevator, so one way to make him is put observers here. So like this, and then no blocks right there. Usually this was pretty silent, because there was no more blocks above, and yeah, now they make this additional sound all the time. So, I mean, not great, to be honest. Let's find the other way. Okay, I'm already trying a little bit to place certain blocks around the note blocks to prevent them from sliding. The allay doesn't have the best aim, but I'm quite sure we'll definitely come up with a setup where the items don't land outside. Okay, so I guess this is definitely a viable concept for a sugarcane farm or another farm. Item collection is important. Of course, it shouldn't be too fast. It takes quite some time to pick up items and then bring them back to the note block and so on. For smaller farms, definitely an option, but considering how expensive it is to actually get an allay, transport them thousands of blocks, this might be something you only want to do once for fun. Alright, so the allay and the ancient city were definitely the highlight in this snapshot, but there's also a couple smaller changes. So something we talked about last week was this feature here. So if you break a minecart with TNT or chest or hopper, something like that, instead of dropping the minecart and the item, now you get the chest minecart or TNT minecart, etc. So this will definitely change a lot with the meta. So for example, minecart unloaders will probably look a bit different. Instead of using hoppers to unload them or other minecarts, you can just break them and dispense them again. So this was, of course, not the best setup right now, because there's probably more intelligent setups than this one here. But the idea is that we just break the minecart, then all the items drop. We can maybe put them in a water stream, And then we just dispense the hopper minecart again, and it's collecting items again. So this is definitely a faster way of doing it compared to just normal minecart unloaders. It's just a side note, but the minecart crafting recipes are also shapeless now, so you no longer need to put the hopper above the minecart, etc. We also have an important change to the shrieker. They have a new tag, can summon. So this means they can summon the Warden. If it's set to false, they can't, and if it's set to true, they can summon or spawn a Warden. So all the shriekers you place down yourself in survival or in creative, or the ones you just get from skulk spreading, have the tag can summon false, so they're not able to summon a Warden. The only ones that have it on true, can maybe quickly teleport there, are the ones that generate in the Deep Dark or the Ancient Cities. Okay, there we go. We're in the Deep Dark, and this shrieker has can summon true. I can mine it real quick. Place it down again, and now it's false. Right, so with this change, it's only possible to get the Warden in the Deep Dark biome. So if you had, for example, plans to use the Warden to kill the golems of your iron farm or kill other mobs with it, you would need to build it around the shriekers you can find naturally, which of course makes it a little bit more inconvenient. One more note, there's also a small change to the Warden. It is able to pathfind over rails now, unlike other mobs that would be stopped by rails. So this was done probably in order to make it a little bit harder to cheese him. Alright, that's all for today. Thanks guys for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye!